Hello and welcome to Matador News. I'm Angela Hoffman.
And I'm Cyndy Alvarado. U.S. military leaders have approved plans to strike ISIS targets in Syria. France has also agreed to join the fight against ISIS, providing Iraq air support. Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel says the U.S. is aiming to help Syrian rebel forces.
As these forces prove their effectiveness on the battlefield, we would be prepared to provide increasingly sophisticated types of assistance to the most trusted commanders and capable forces.
And in Australia today, police officials have arrested 2 people in connection with plans to carry out a beheading in public. Officials say this comes after Australia agreed to back the U.S. with the fight against ISIS.
President Petro Poroshenko is meeting with President Obama and Congress to request more military support from the United States. Ukraine is battling pro-Russian separatists in the eastern part of the country. Russia annexed the Crimea Peninsula last February.
I strongly encourage the United States to give Ukraine a special security and defense status, which reflects the highest level of interaction with non-NATO allies.
Congress has already authorized $350 million in military assistance for Ukraine. If an agreement between the countries is not met, then the United States may impose more sanctions on Russia.
It's National Preparedness Month. Matador News reporter Akeisha Nabeta is live on CSUN campus with some tips about being ready for anything. Akeisha?
So we're always talking about being prepared, but we never talk about how to get prepared. We asked CSUN students, would they be ready if a disaster struck? And if so, how did they prepare themselves?
I guess I'm mostly waiting on an earthquake, since we're in California, so I think I'm mostly prepared for that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'd be prepared. I used to live in an area that was a high fire zone. It was lots of brush and like a big hill mountain thing next to it.
Some key tips on being prepared are knowing the risks in your area, also taking action, and being an example.
The California King wildfire in El Dorado County continues to burn. It has increased by 1.5 times in size overnight. The more than 100 square mile fire has forced more than 2,000 people to evacuate from their homes. Around 3,700 firefighters are battling the blaze. Some residents had little warning. The wildfire is now 65% contained.
Sierra Leone is set to shut down today at midnight in an effort to slow the spread of the Ebola outbreak. The country's residents are being told to stay in their homes. World Health Organization officials say more than 2,000 people in West Africa have died from the disease. They say more than 700 new cases have been recorded in the past week. Authorities say they expect more cases to turn up after the 3-day shutdown. The UN Security Council will be discussing the Ebola threat later today.
Cabo is picking up the pieces after getting hit by Hurricane Odile on Monday. More than 3,000 police officials and emergency personnel were sent to surrounding areas of Cabo to assist tourists and local residents. Thousands of tourists have been able to leave the city for airports in other parts of Mexico not affected by the hurricane. Parts of Cabo are still without clean water and power.
LAPD officials say a 6-year-old boy was fatally stabbed early Thursday morning. Police officials arrived in the 1600 block of East 88th Street at around midnight after receiving a call from a person screaming. The first to arrive discovered a man covered in blood and believed to be the boy's father. The boy was rushed to St. Francis Hospital where he died from his injuries. The suspect was detained at the scene but has not yet been charged with the crime. Officials are still in search for other family members of a boy who may have witnessed the incident.
A young couple has been sentenced to life in prison without parole after murdering a man who responded to a Craigslist ad for female companionship. 19-year-old Miranda Barber lured a man into the car while her 22-year-old husband hid in the back under a blanket. The husband then wrapped a cord around the man's neck, strangling him to death. The couple had also pleaded guilty to aggravated assault, robbery, and possession of an instrument of a crime.
Now let's go to Helen Mora with the business news.
Thank you, Cyndy. The U.S. stock market rises only a day after the Federal Reserve signaled that it's in no rush to raise interest rates. At last check, the Dow Jones average is at 101, The NASDAQ is at up to 24. Also today, the Labor Department reports fewer Americans filed first-time claims for unemployment benefits last week. Analysts say the U.S. economy is growing at a modest pace. This should allow the Federal Reserve to stick to a policy that coaxes businesses to borrow and spend and could fuel further gains for the stock market. A bug in Apple's new iOS 8 software is prompting the company to withhold apps that use a feature for keeping track of fitness and health data. Apple didn't provide details on what went wrong, but says it hopes to have HealthKit apps restored to its App Store by the end of the month. Affected apps include Carrot Fit, WebMD, and AskMD. Now let's go to Stephen Jones with sports.
Thank you, Helen. Police now have details surrounding newly deactivated Arizona Cardinals running back Jonathan Dwyer. Dwyer was arrested on Wednesday for assaulting his wife back in mid-July. He also prevented her from using her phone to report the emergency. Although his 17-month-old son was not injured, Dwyer was also booked for aggravated assault involving a minor. Dwyer was deactivated from all team activities yesterday. This comes at a time when the NFL is dealing with many off-the-field issues. The Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim are returning to the playoffs for the first time in 5 years. C.J. Cron provided the power last night, launching a 3-run home run in the Angels' 5-run 7th inning. The Halos would eventually win 5-0. Coupled with an Oakland loss to Texas, manager Mike Scioscia clinched his 6th AL West title in Anaheim. The Angels lead the Orioles by 3 games for home field advantage with 10 games remaining. Meanwhile, the Los Angeles Dodgers are still trying to clinch the NL West after a 16-2 loss to Colorado and a 4-2 San Francisco win. LA leads the Giants by just 2 games. Each team has 10 games left this season, including 3 games against each other next week. And here we have Helen Mora with the latest in entertainment.
Thank you, Stephen. Jay-Z and Beyonce are back at work. The couple, who just ended their On the Run tour last weekend in Paris, reportedly has plans to collaborate on a joint album. When asked about the report, a Jay-Z spokesperson told CNN to ask DJ Ski. Dash Radio's DJ Ski says the album could arrive late this year or early next year. Billboard reports the couple earned $100 million in ticket sales from their tour. Here we have Stephen with health.
Thank you again, Helen. The Obama administration says 7.3 million people have signed up for private health insurance. This number is down from the 8 million reported earlier this year. Insurers say about 10% of new policyholders did not pay their first month's premium, which led to the declines. These numbers are still positive for the Obama administration and are projected to grow next year. Matador News reporter Nancy Mijares is live at the Sundial newsroom with Editor-in-Chief Andrew Martinez to discuss mental health issues and campus resources for students.
American depression rates have increased rapidly in recent years, and antidepressants are being prescribed more frequently. Andrew, how effective are these antidepressants, or are they effective at all, or do we have alternative resources for combating depression?
Well, there's been a lot of research on the subject. In severe cases of depression, antidepressants do work, but in mild cases, it's very hit or miss, almost to the effect of being a placebo, but the research is still ongoing.
What resources do we have here on campus for our students, or are there any upcoming workshops students can attend?
The University Counseling Services offers a ton of resources that includes group therapy workshops, individual counseling, and they also offer weekly workshops, depression management workshops, body self-esteem workshops, and even public speaking workshops.
A statistical report shows that the targeted age for suicide is 15 to 29, which most CSUN students fall into. What warning signs should students look for amongst their peers who may be experiencing depression or thoughts of suicide?
Sad, very disruptive behavior, very irritable, but also being withdrawn and being just back of the class, very quiet. That's also a warning sign too. Sometimes it's the people that are the most quiet that you don't see the warning signs.
Thank you, Andrew, for your time. Now let's go back to Stephen in the studio with the weather report.
Thank you, Nancy. Our weather is finally cooling off, but only slightly. Temperatures are expected to be in the mid to high 80s in Northridge this weekend. This will be a major relief from last weekend's 100-plus degree weather. As always, stay safe, stay cool, and drink plenty of water. And now, back for more news.
Thank you for watching Matador News. This is Cyndy Alvarado.
And I'm Angela Hoffman. Have a great day.